Imagine spending the night in the grandest room of a mighty medieval castle. Massive stone walls surround you, colorful tapestries hang from the ceiling, servants keep a huge fire burning, and outside your window stretches an entire kingdom. It sounds luxurious, but there's one problem: freezing. Not just uncomfortable, truly freezing. In fact, the lord of the castle often slept in colder conditions than the stable boy who cared for the horses. It seems impossible, but that is exactly how medieval castles worked. Today we imagine castles as symbols of wealth, comfort, and power. Movies show roaring fireplaces, warm banquet halls, and noble families relaxing by the fire. The reality was completely different. Castles were designed to survive sieges, not winters. Their thick stone walls could stop arrows, catapults, and enemy soldiers. Unfortunately, those same walls also trapped months of winter cold inside the building. By January, every stone in the castle had become a giant block of ice. Lighting a fire helped very little. Stone absorbs heat incredibly slowly. After weeks of freezing temperatures, the walls themselves became cold enough to pull warmth out of the air. Even with a massive fireplace burning day and night, many castle rooms remained close to freezing. Medieval records from England and France describe bowls of water freezing inside noble bedrooms while fires burned only a few feet away. Imagine looking at bright flames and still seeing your own breath. That wasn't unusual. It was everyday life. The higher your social status, the worse the problem became. The lord's private chamber was usually located at the very top of the keep, the safest place during a siege. It was also the highest point exposed to wind from every direction. While servants slept near kitchens filled with warm ovens, and stable workers rested beside horses producing natural body heat, the lord spent the night surrounded by cold stone and empty space. Power came with prestige. Prestige came with altitude. Altitude came with freezing temperatures. Large fireplaces looked impressive, but they were surprisingly inefficient. Their enormous chimneys were designed for one purpose: removing smoke as quickly as possible. The hotter the fire burned, the faster the heat escaped through the chimney. Stand directly in front of the flames and your face felt almost too hot. Take 2 steps back and the room felt nearly as cold as the outside air. Heating an entire castle would have required dozens of fireplaces burning at the same time. The amount of wood needed would have stripped entire forests every winter. Even wealthy nobles couldn't afford that. Instead, they concentrated on warming one very small space: the bed. The famous medieval four-poster bed wasn't built mainly for decoration. Its heavy curtains created a tiny room inside the room. Once closed, they trapped the sleeper's body heat, reducing the icy drafts that constantly moved through the chamber. Without those curtains, sleeping through a winter night became almost impossible. The bed itself stood high above the stone floor. That wasn't simply fashionable. Cold air sinks. Every extra inch above the floor meant slightly warmer air. Layers of straw mattresses, wool blankets, animal furs, and thick linen surrounded the sleeper from every direction. The blankets became so heavy that turning over during the night required real effort. Comfort wasn't the goal, survival was. Even then, servants often prepared the bed before bedtime using a warming pan. This was a metal container filled with glowing coals. The servants slid it between the sheets for several minutes, warming the bedding before removing it. The heat disappeared quickly, sometimes within 20 minutes. After that, the cold slowly returned. Many noble families relied on something else: dogs. Today we think of dogs as companions. In medieval Europe, they also served as living heaters. Large hunting dogs often slept at the foot of the bed, inside the curtains, adding precious body heat throughout the night. Historians believe this practical habit helped inspire the famous expression "a 3-dog night." The colder the weather became, the more dogs were needed to stay warm. Whether every story behind the phrase is true remains debated, but people absolutely shared their beds with animals during harsh winters. Every source of warmth mattered. Nighttime itself followed a rhythm that feels strange today. During the darkest months, people often didn't sleep for 8 uninterrupted hours. Instead, they experienced what historians call first sleep and second sleep. After sunset they slept deeply for several hours. Around midnight many naturally woke. This quiet period might last an hour or two. People prayed, talked, reflected, or simply added more wood to the dying fire. Then they returned to bed for a second sleep until sunrise. Keeping the fire alive wasn't optional. If the flames went out completely, warming the room again before morning became nearly impossible. Someone always had to leave the warmth of the bed, walk barefoot across freezing stone floors, and feed the fireplace. It was one of the least pleasant jobs in the castle. Outside, conditions could be even worse. Castle guards stood on exposed walls through long winter nights with little protection from icy winds. Historical chronicles describe sentries freezing to death while still standing at their posts. They didn't fall asleep, they simply never warmed up again. Perhaps the greatest irony of medieval life is that peasants often slept warmer than nobles. A peasant's cottage was tiny, one fire heated the entire building. Family members lived close together, animals were sometimes sheltered under the same roof, adding even more warmth. Smoke, smells, and cramped conditions made life unpleasant, but the cottage retained heat surprisingly well. A castle was enormous, its great halls had towering ceilings. Warm air rose far above everyone's heads before escaping through windows, doors, and chimneys. The larger the room, the harder it became to heat. In winter, space became the enemy. Many wealthy lords eventually accepted defeat. Household records show that some noble families abandoned their stone castles during the coldest months and moved into smaller timber manor houses nearby. Wood retained heat far better than stone. The smaller rooms were easier to warm. Despite owning the greatest fortresses in the kingdom, many nobles chose simpler homes simply because they were more comfortable. That says everything. Castles represented military power, political authority, and noble status. They did not represent comfort. The image we often have today, a warm stone castle glowing with firelight, is largely a fantasy created centuries later. Real castles echoed with cold winds, damp walls, frozen floors, and endless fires that never seemed to produce enough warmth. The greatest fortress in the kingdom could defend its owner from invading armies. It could not protect him from winter, so the next time you visit a medieval castle or watch one in a movie, remember this surprising truth. The richest man in the building probably spent the night shivering beneath piles of blankets, sharing his bed with hunting dogs, while the stable boys slept comfortably beside warm horses. Sometimes, in the Middle Ages, the greatest luxury wasn't power, it was simply being warm.